It was incoming on the comment section of my last podcast like I'd never seen before. I should have realized my friend up in Rochester sent me the injury list for the Bills. And I was like, whoa. He was like, whoa. I'm like, I'm going to do a podcast on this. Sent Tommy over at Mafia Sports Report, my friend, the Maniac Bills guy, the injuries. I'm like, oh, you see this? He's like, well, next man up. I'm like, huh? Uh-oh, fan armor's up. But it didn't click in. So I did a podcast on the Dolphins should win, considering they're home, going against a gutted secondary. Now, the thesis of it was they should win because they've invested everything, their mother, the kitchen sink, and Tommy down the street in order to get two awesome wide receivers and invest in this offensive line. And if you're going against your division opponent who you're aiming to beat at home with like four guys that are top-end players out in that secondary, you should win. Will they win? I don't know. I don't know. I'm concerned about our defense versus Allen. We haven't been able to stop them. Why should we now? The defense hasn't been playing great. So I see it as a high scoring to a mid scoring, 28, high 20s into the 30s. On the Bills side, that means we've got to keep score. And if we've invested all this, first on Jackson, second and third on Eichenberg, big contract on Tehran, second on Hunt, third on Dieter, 2 fourths on Kinley, who's gone, along with a second on two firsts on Waddle, and a first, second, 2 fourths, and a 6 on Hill, and you're going against the Bills, and they're absent Trey, Dane, Hyde, injured Poyer, got 2 young cornerbacks. If you can't make hay now, and at least make this a shootout where maybe we lose at the end by, a small margin because Allen is a Superman. If you can't do that, when are you going to be able to take all this weaponry and put points on the Bills? Because when Trey comes back in and Dane comes back in and Poyer's back in and Hyde's healthy and then Benford and Elam, if they keep growing, you have all that. Are you going to do any better? This is the point. This is the moment. This says the build that we got right here is going to be successful or not over the next. Successful in the sense that we're taking the first in division. We could challenge the Bills. First in division to take the Bills. We could be second and make the playoffs and maybe even go to Super Bowl. But if the goal is to beat the Bills, this week will give us an indication. We've got injuries in our secondary. They've got injuries in our secondary. It should not stop us from putting on points and keeping pace and likely winning. If we don't, it kind of feels like a strong down. And the only reason we won't be able to put points on is because our offensive line breaks apart. Tehran might not be in now. He's missed 3 days. That's huge. But anyway, that's for another. That's the wrap up of the last one, which is a little crazy. So I want Bills fans to understand, and then I want to clarify on some of the Phins fans who will disagreement, which is great. I love the whole disagreement thing because that's how you question yourself and you learn. But today, I'm going to take that podcast and I'm going to go over the matchups. I'm going to put in a nice little handy-dandy graphics that I think I got a little bit better on. And I'm going to show the matchups of what we're seeing right here. And you see clearly that Miami should take advantage. The only reason they won't is because the Bills pressure. Now, the Bills can easily apply this pressure. It's been done in the past on the Dolphins. Look at week 1 with the Patriots. Look at the first 3 quarters with the Ravens. There was a lot of pressure there. So nothing's written in stone. But with the vast investments going against this injured Bills defense, we've got to make hay and look good on offense at the very least and keep it close, if not win. So set that up. Before I do that, I want to let you know, Tommy's probably not even talking to me right now. He's waiting, getting it all together for tonight's podcast. I'm doing a live thing again with Tommy for NFL Overtime, 9:30. We're going to chat it out mostly about Bills and Dolphins, but add in all the other big games behind that as well. So we'll see. Tommy might get mad at me. I don't know. We'll see. It's going to be fun. Love Tommy to death, and I'm looking forward to that. So that will be on tonight. And then I want to give my shout out to you guys. I know some Bills fans are getting frustrated with me, and I know some Dolphin fans are like, why are you making this game so important? It's my take. I try to present my vision. Right or wrong, we'll see. But thank you for stopping by, whoever you are. That's a sign that you can get along and still be friends despite disagreements. I appreciate that, the likes, the subscribes, the comments, the views, and all that such. I want to also give a shout out to Ace Per Head, my sponsor, because without you guys, without them, the show ain't going down. Ace Per Head's betting software is the premier white label platform for bookies to manage their players and grow their sportsbook operation. Click the link in the description below to get set up in minutes. Ask for the Curtis promo and get a special introductory discount. Not going to get into it. I'm not going to spend a whole preamble here. But you can see right here, okay, here's the image. And I spent a lot of time doing this thing here. And I'll give you my keys for what you're seeing in front of you. You see a yellow box, that means injured, okay? If you see a green star with a yellow inside, that means stud, okay? If you got a blue check, that means you're either doing well currently or you have a specific asset that is high quality. I'm going to dig all into this as we go through. If you got an X next to you, it means you have a weakness in your game or you're not particularly playing well, okay? If you see a red box, that is key matchups. All right, so let's Poyer. He's the top of this defense. He's got a foot injury. We're going to see if he plays or not. Bill's going to definitely keep it tight to the vest. But he's injured, but he's a stud. He's not there. Now, Hamlin and Johnson are going to fill in for Hyde. They're not bad. They've shown to be quality guys over the years, but they're not Hyde, and we don't exactly know what we're going to get, or else, they would be starters. But they've played well. They're quality. They're not poor, but it is a step down, and we have to see exactly what they're getting because they've been kind of limited, obviously, with Hyde and Poyer in there. Now, then in front of them, you got Milano and Edmonds. Milano and Edmonds, they're very, very good. Milano's the best linebacker in this division and one of the best in the league year in, year out. The guy is the glue to this entire defense. And so Miami's going to definitely have problems passing in the middle and then over the top, except when there's a double safety top, cover 2 or cover 3 or something, cover 2, cover 3, whatever. However it looks with Hamlin and Johnson and over the top, there could be some problems. Edmonds gets the blue check. I don't know if I mentioned blue check means you got a really good strength or you're playing hot. His blitzes are brutal. He lit up the Titans a couple times last week, and that's something very similar you can see with this Dolphins front because they struggle, this offensive front. So you've got a really good situation going on here with a little curiosity at the strong safety position, but you can mask that in many ways. Now on the line, you got Boogie Bashams playing out of his mind in a limited capacity. He's playing really, really high level. And then you got superstar, future Hall of Famer, Von Miller, who's just good at everything. And then Oliver, he's injured, but he's been struggling against the run, but we're not heavy inside runners unless we change that up. But he's been very good at the pass rush. And then Daquan, he's been solid, but very good against the pass rush as well. Espinosa and Rousseau on the edge. Rousseau, he gets 2 checks. He gets 2 checks because not only has he played like a top-end player from last year to this year, but I can't give him stud just yet. It's a little too early, but he's been playing really well. He gets the extra check because he's been exceptional in the pass rush. Then you got Bedford and Elam on the outside, who I put an X next to them because they're playing pretty good, but they're also rookies. So there's no way that, considering you're going to have rookies, it's not always going to be zone, so it's not man-to-man as much, even though I'm sure it'll be a little man. You have to put them as a little bit of concern, considering the talent they're facing. Then you got Tehran at the nickel. I didn't put anything there because he's been solid. He's playing pretty well this year. He's probably like in the top 40, top 45 of cornerbacks. So I don't really see any great strengths or weaknesses. So he's solid. He's solid. Now on the Dolphins side, my man Tehran. He's got a bum toe, and my concern was that if he played too much last week, it could be a long-term thing. Tehran is an unbelievable signing for the Dolphins. He's playing around top 5 at his position, but unfortunately the biggest problem with my man Tehran is the injuries. He came in with an injury, rehabbing it from last year, and now the toe's acting up, and he hasn't practiced all week. And he might play, and he's good, but he needs to be at his best to face Vaughn. And you don't know when that toe is going to finally drive him out. And if he keeps on playing on us, eventually this could keep him out and turn into something serious. So yes, he's injured. He is a star. He might not play. And if that's the case, it's big trouble for the Dolphins. Now, Eichenberg, he played a little better last week, but it wasn't like all world. I got to do the tape tonight, and I'll get it for you tomorrow early. He's a big concern for many reasons. He could step up. We'll see. He's going to be a key. Very big key. Connor was doing really well. He's really good in the run game, but he's been struggling a little bit in pass protection. So I gave him an X for his pass protection, which is kind of struggling. He's new at the position. Still, we got to see him long term with the snapping issues. He's still feeling it out, and he has had struggles in the pass protection, but his run blocking is great. And this is a key for the Dolphins against the Bills because Oliver struggles in run defense, and Daquan is good, but there's depth issues there with Phillips being out. So will Miami actually attack inside? To me, what I thought last week with the Titans, they should have done the same thing, but they didn't. Now, Hunt gets a check. His run blocking, his giant guy, huge guy, hasn't been the greatest, but his pass blocking has been pretty good. Going over the tape, and I was really impressed with what I saw last week. Little, he made some blocks, but he's been struggling. He's struggled for years. Maybe he turned the corner, but nothing in the tape last week said, oh, this guy's turning the corner. So I had to put an X because the full body of work puts uncertainty around him. Now, Tua, I gave a check because I believe this kid is a good player. I don't know if he's great yet, but I believe he's a good player, and he's definitely trending up. You saw last week. There's some really good QB School is a great channel to check out Tua's play. So let them do all that kind of stuff. I put a check next to Ingold, the fullback, because he is a quality player. It's not great, but he's showing some stuff in the pass game and the run block. Mostert, Edmonds are quality players. They're not elite. Gesicki, weirdly enough, has been run blocking well. And he is a quality player in mid to late clock, but you can't get to mid to late clock if there's not pass protection. So I had to put an X there because his pass blocking hasn't been good. The history of his run blocking hasn't been good. And he's a mid to late clock player. And unless we can pass block, he won't get to accentuate his skills. Wilson's injured. Good player. Got to see what happens. He's flashes, but how injured is he? Smythe, solid across the board, but not great. Now, people might freak. They see X next to Hill and Waddle. They're not good run blockers. They're not. They're small. I mean, they're small, but they're stars and studs. And when you see them matching up Benford and Elam and even Tehran and Hamlin and Johnson, this clearly puts the mismatch in Miami's vast investments at wide receiver against this beat up and gutted secondary. But there's no way to accentuate that unless we get pass protection. And this is why it's going to come down to the offensive line. I mean, without a doubt. Okay, so I mentioned it at the beginning for Fin fans. I saw the vast trove of picks we've invested. We're losing picks because of Ross's deal. Greer does not have a great history of offensive linemen. You got Tehran. If he's injured this year, it kind of continues to add that insecurity going forward. You've got all these vast picks on the offensive line. This is their time. Not to be great, just to give enough. Now, for the Bills fans who are angry at me, I'm concerned about our defense. Howard is not 100%. He's not. I said that at the end of the last game. We have issues in coverage. We're blitzing all the time, but not getting any pass rush. Allen most likely will do what he always does, is have his day. And if this defense doesn't get on its game to be better than week 1 and week 2, he could really get on his game and make this a high-scoring game. But however you slice it, we're at home, and this gutted offense needs to be tact, and there needs to be high-level production. Now, if it doesn't happen, it's not on Tua, it's not on these receivers. It's going to be about the pressure that the Bills generate to make Tua get off his game, to get sacked, to get hurt, whatever the case may be. And that falls squarely on the offensive line and the designer. The designer said, I am spending these heavy picks on these offensive line players, and I'm going to ride them till I die, and I'm going to spend these big investments on receivers. And so it's got to come back to Grier. If Miami even loses a close one in a shootout, I will commend Grier, even though I'm still be concerned. If we win, I mean, hallelujah. But if we lose, if we can't put points on because this offensive line just crumbles, and even if Tehran is out, this shouldn't be. If you build a quality offensive line, even with the loss of Tehran, given the injuries in the Bills secondary, you should be able to make enough hay to keep it close. This is why I view this game as critical. Not for the Bills. The Bills can lose this game. We played them at home later on. They got all these guys coming back. Our offensive line could get better. We got some, free agents in there that we picked up that I believe, sadly enough, are better than some of our high-priced offensive young guys that we in now. But they're not going to, turn this thing into something totally new, or else they would have been picked up by somebody else. So Miami has to make hay in this regard. They have to. We've got to. The goal is not to be in second in the division. I mean, for me, the goal is this year to be second in the division and make the playoffs, and then next year to challenge the Bills. But eventually, we're going to have to challenge the Bills. Because the Bills win the division, we'll play them at home at some point. If we can't beat them, we don't go forward. So the Bills, if they lose, unless somehow we eviscerate them, they can keep going. If we lose, and we lose in a grand fashion, I will be very concerned. This is why it's a critical game, and this is why I see this as a should win, almost a must win for this season and possibly going forward, depending on what we've got going. Now, I like the way the season looks. We can go 2, lose this one, then play the Bengals and Jets. We can be 3-2 if the first 5 games, and that's really good. We got a string of wins, but ultimately the ceiling for this build is going to get a really strong glimpse and evaluation based on this game. Anyway, Carter saying thanks for staying to the end. I hope angry Phins fans and angry Bills fans can see my point of view. Good luck to the Bills. Obviously, I want my Phins to win, but good luck. Curtis saying, catch you next time. Be well. See you soon. Start building your own online sportsbook today by getting signed up with aceperhead.com service that'll allow you to book action on sports from all around the world.